Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Crystal, and today I wanted to talk about my favorite books that have like fairies or the fae in them. So the first one is like a young adult fantasy, and it's a duology, and the first one is These Hollow Vows, and then it's These Twisted Bonds. We have Bree. She and her sister are like indentured to their aunt, and Bree has tried everything. She works very hard. She's trying to like pay off their debt, and she's also like a very good thief. She's able to like kind of make the night part of hers and slip in and out undetected, and she takes from like the rich and kind of helps her sister out. She does have a friend who she also helps out when she can. And in fact, at the beginning of the novel, she breaks in and she goes to steal some money, and she realizes that her friend is now indebted to this really evil guy, and she doesn't want that. So she gives the money that she takes from him to her friend and says, "Here, pay off your debt." And then she knows that she's going to be punished. What she doesn't count on is her aunt selling her sister to the king of like the dark court in Fairy. So she now has to go to Fairy to save her sister. So when she's there, she ends up coming across the Unseelie King, and she makes a deal with the Unseelie King. So she makes a deal to steal 3 artifacts, and while she's trying to complete her mission, she also becomes entangled with the Seelie Prince and basically the true heir to the Unseelie throne, because the king who's currently sitting there is not the legitimate heir. He overthrew the previous like king and kicked out the prince, and so the prince to that throne is vying for his kingdom, trying to get his kingdom back, and the people want him. They hate this current king who's evil, and so she basically becomes entangled, and it's her story. Because we also realize as the book goes along that she's not exactly human. There's more to her. There's more to her story. There's ties to her and both of these princes. And I really enjoyed it. Lots of political intrigue and lots of good storytelling. The romance as well as like the fantasy elements are both done really well in these 2 books. My next favorite series is the Mary Gentry novels by Laurel K. Hamilton. So we have Mary. She is the first fairy princess born in the United States. And in this world, we have like vampires, fairies, werewolves, all sorts of supernatural. They all exist and they all have rights under their certain laws. But this series strictly just focuses on the Unseelie and the Seelie courts. And Mary, she is heir to the Unseelie court. She is like third in line. She's also in line for the Seelie court as well to sit on that throne, but she's like further. I think she's like 7th or 8th in line for that. So her aunt is the queen to the Unseelie court, and the queen's son is Sel. And Mary, at one point when she was living at court, her father was murdered, and the rest of the royals do not like Mary, and the rest of the basically nobles of the court don't like Mary, because even though she's fae, she was born human. Like, she ages like a human, and she didn't really have a lot of power. She has like some glamour and some minor abilities, but she didn't have anything that was like strong and powerful, and they wanted her dead. There's a certain group that wanted her dead because she's too close to the throne, and they don't want a human sitting on their throne. So she has to go into hiding after her father's killed, and she becomes a private detective in LA. And while she's investigating a certain crime there, she ends up triggering and using her powers, and that allows the queen to find her, and she gets dragged back to the Unseelie court, and the queen actually makes a deal with her. She says, "Look, I need an heir, and I need to know that our like line is going to continue. So either you get pregnant or Cell gets someone pregnant first, and whoever gets pregnant, they're going to get the throne because their magic is dying, and their magic is linked to like fertility basically. And so Meredith has to not only try to survive all of this like politics that is happening, she's also trying to restore the magic to Fairy. This series had some parts in it that absolutely made me sob. It was very emotional, and it is like a reverse harem or a wide shoes. And so I can't remember how many books there are. It's not quite finished yet. I can't remember. It's been a while since there's been one, so I don't know if it's ever going to be finished, but it's finished enough to where it's satisfying if no more books are released in the series. The last series that I absolutely love, and it's probably my number one favorite, is Karen Marie Moning's Fever series. So we have Michaela Lane. She is she thinks a regular girl. She's enjoying, her summer. And then she gets the phone call that her sister, who was studying abroad in Ireland, has been killed. So she is very angry. She's upset. She's devastated. And she goes to Ireland to hunt down and track her sister's killer. Along the way, she comes across this bookstore owner whose name is Jericho Behrens. And he's might not be completely human. She knows something's up with him, and somehow she's trying to find, this book that her sister says, we need to find this book. And we are not quite human either. So it's her tracking down and unraveling everything that happened to her sister while also fighting Unseelie and Seelie Faye. We also discover throughout the series that there are other people with these magical abilities, and she has to eventually make certain hard decisions. There isn't much of a romance in this. It isn't until like several books in that her and Jericho have like this, slow burn, and they have really great chemistry, and he trains her eventually to like figure out who she is and find her powers. So those are my favorite books about the Fae. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.